Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of numismatics. Today, we focus on a unique pieces of American history, top most valuable silver, Washington quarter-dollar coins value in market. First up, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. But here's the catch. We're talking about the 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark in extra fine condition, the 1974 Washington quarter. Now, before we get into how much it's worth, let's take a moment to appreciate the craftsmanship of this iconic coin. The 1974 Washington quarter was part of the traditional U.S. coinage program, with the same design we've come to recognize since 1932. The obverse of the coin features the profile of George Washington, our first president, created by the artist John Flanagan. On the reverse, we see the eagle holding an olive branch, a symbol of peace and strength. But there's something about this coin that sets it apart from the others. This specific version, the 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark, has an interesting backstory that can influence its value significantly. Now, you might be wondering, why is the mint mark so important? And why does it matter in the case of the 1974 Washington quarter? Well, here's the deal. In 1974, the U.S. Mint had a variety of quarters, and most of them carried either a D mint mark, indicating they were struck in Denver, or a S mint mark, meaning they were produced in San Francisco. But there were a small number of 1974 quarters that didn't have a mint mark at all. The 1974 quarters without mint marks were struck in Philadelphia, and these are rarer than their minted counterparts. However, the difference in rarity is only one part of the equation. The condition of the coin is another major factor in determining value. When we say extra fine condition, we're talking about a coin that's almost in pristine shape, but just has a tiny bit of wear and tear visible under magnification. For a coin to be classified as extra fine, the design should still be sharp, and the details should be very well defined, with only slight signs of wear, typically on the high points of the design, like Washington's hair or the eagle's wings. An extra fine coin is a significant step up from the more worn fine or very fine classifications. It indicates that the coin has been well preserved, which is essential when evaluating its market value. All right, now let's get to the big question. What's this 1974 Washington quarter worth? Well, like with all collectible coins, there are several factors that contribute to its value. The most important being the condition of the coin, and specifically, how well it's preserved. In extra fine condition, the 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark can fetch anywhere from $8 to $15 on average in today's market. However, if you find a specimen that's in particularly exceptional condition, it could reach upwards of $800 to $1,000 at auction, especially if it's being sold to a collector who's looking for that specific year and condition. But here's the thing, the 1974 quarter's value doesn't stop there. Because of its rarity and collector demand, if you find one with very few signs of wear or additional details, the value could soar even higher. Now that we know what makes this coin valuable, you're probably wondering how to find one and sell it. For those of you scouring your pocket change or sifting through old coin collections, make sure to keep an eye out for those key details. A 1974 quarter without a mint mark, and of course, in extra fine condition. If you do find one, here are a few tips for selling it. Always check its condition thoroughly. If it's in extra fine condition or better, you might want to have it professionally graded to maximize its value. You can sell it online, at coin shows, or even through local coin dealers, but be sure to get a fair price for your coin. So, there you have it. The 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark in extra fine condition is a coin that could be sitting in your collection, ready to increase in value. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just starting, keep your eyes peeled for this piece of history. And if you find one, you might just have a valuable gem on your hands. Next up, the 1984 with the P mint mark can be quite valuable. Today, we're diving deep into the world of this specific coin, exploring its history, its significance, and its current value in the market. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It features the iconic portrait of Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. Over the decades, the design has remained relatively unchanged, making this coin one of the most recognized in U.S. numismatics. But today, we're focusing on the 1984 silver Washington quarter and why it stands out in the market. The 1984 Washington quarter is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, with the obverse showcasing the classic image of George Washington. On the reverse, you'll find the eagle with the olive branch, a symbol of peace and strength. The mint mark P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, the primary minting location for quarters since the late 18th century. Unlike earlier years, 1984 was the first year that the Philadelphia Mint began placing a mint mark on its quarters, which is a key detail for collectors. But let's talk about what makes the 1984 with the P mint mark valuable. The key factor here is the condition of the coin. In numismatic terms, fine condition refers to a coin that shows moderate wear but still retains most of its original features. In the case of the 1984 Washington quarter, this means that the details of George Washington's face and the reverse eagle are still visible, but may show some light wear or fading. Coins in fine condition are in higher demand. While the 1984 Washington quarter was minted in large quantities, around 682 million, its value is driven by its condition. The higher the quality, the more it fetches on the market. Coins in fine condition, especially those with minimal scratches, dings, or tarnishing, are considered highly collectible. Now, let's talk about the 1984 Washington quarter's current market value. In today's auction market, a 1984 Washington quarter with a P mint mark in fine condition typically ranges from $300 to $1,000 depending on the exact grade and the current demand. It's not the rarest coin, but it holds significant value due to its historical context and the fact that it was one of the first years with the Philadelphia Mint's mint mark. For collectors looking to complete their Washington quarter collection, this coin is an essential piece. While the 1984 quarter doesn't reach the astronomical prices seen with some other coins like the 1932 Washington quarters or certain error coins, it still commands a fair price for those in great condition. And if you happen to have one that is in better than fine condition. So, how can you identify a fine condition? 1984 Washington quarter. First, make sure you handle your coin with care. Use cotton gloves or soft cloth to avoid leaving fingerprints or oils on the surface. Examine the details on Washington's portrait. In fine condition, the features should still be clear, but there may be light wear on the high points, like the hair and nose. The reverse should also show minimal wear on the eagle and olive branch. Be sure to check for any damage like scratches or dents, as that can affect its value. In conclusion, the 1984 Washington quarter with the P mint mark in fine condition may not be the rarest coin in the world, but it holds significant value for collectors. It's a key piece in the Washington quarter series and an affordable coin to add to your collection. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just starting out, this quarter offers both historical value and potential for growth in the market. Next up, the 1985 silver Washington quarter dollar with a P mint mark. But here's the kicker. This one is in damaged condition, and we're going to talk about what that does to its value in today's coin market. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's dive into it. First things first, let's talk about the basics of the 1985 Washington quarter. The Washington quarter, a staple in U.S. coinage, was first minted in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. These coins have become highly collectible, and many people are curious about the specific years and their unique characteristics that make certain quarters more valuable than others. Now, let's zoom in on the specifics of the 1985 quarter. The 1985 Washington quarter was minted primarily from copper nickel clad, meaning it's not a pure silver coin like the pre-1965 quarters, but it still holds a special place in the hearts of collectors. And in the case of the 1985 quarter, it has a P mint mark, which indicates it was minted in Philadelphia. As for the design, we see the classic George Washington portrait on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. While the 1985 is not the rarest quarter, it does have some interesting quirks when it comes to condition and specific errors that can increase its value. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Let's talk about the condition of the coin. Coin collectors and investors alike know that the condition or grade of a coin is one of the biggest factors in determining its value. We often refer to coin conditions in terms of grades like fine, very fine, or uncirculated. However, for this video, we're looking at a coin that's been marked as damaged. So, what does this mean for the value of the 1985 silver Washington quarter? Damaged coins can include everything from scratches, dents, and gouges to discoloration and severe wear. In this case, the 1985 quarter has sustained some significant damage. It could be from mishandling, being dropped, or from poor storage over the years. The damage can affect the design details, and in some cases can even obscure the mint mark and date. So let's break this down. How does that affect value? The short answer is quite a bit. A coin that's been damaged typically will fetch a lower price on the market than one in mint or even average condition. But here's the thing. Damaged coins can still have value, especially if they're rarer dates, unique pieces, or part of a certain collector's interest. For example, a damaged 1985 quarter may not bring in a premium, but collectors looking for that specific year or design might still be interested in purchasing it for a reasonable price. Plus, some collectors love the history behind a damaged coin, considering it part of its journey. As of now, in its damaged state, you're not looking at a fortune. Most damaged 1985 quarters typically range from $850 in value, depending on the severity of the damage and the interest from buyers. If it's heavily scratched or the designs are nearly worn away, it may be closer to the lower end of that spectrum. But if the damage is minor and doesn't heavily impact the designs or mint mark, it could fetch a higher price, maybe pushing closer to the $900 range. Okay, so what should you do if you have a damaged 1985 silver Washington quarter and you're thinking about selling it? Here are a few tips to maximize your sale. Be honest about the condition of the coin. When selling a damaged coin, it's crucial to accurately describe the damage so buyers know exactly what they're getting. If you're not sure about the coin's exact value, consider having it appraised by a professional. They'll help you determine whether it has any unique characteristics that might make it worth more. Sites like eBay, heritage auctions, or local coin shops can be good places to sell your coin. Just make sure you're using reputable platforms to get the best value for your quarter. So there you have it, folks. The 1985 silver Washington quarter with a P mint mark in damaged condition may not fetch you a high price, but it still holds some value on the market, especially for collectors looking to complete their sets, or for those who appreciate the history behind each coin. Next up, the 1970 silver Washington quarter dollar, with a D mint mark in extremely fine condition. If you're wondering about the value of this coin today, stick around because you're in for some interesting insights. First, let's take a look at this coin. The 1970 Washington quarter is part of the regular series of quarters issued by the U.S. Mint, but this one has some notable characteristics. It's a silver quarter made of 90% silver, a fact that adds intrinsic value to it right off the bat. The D mint mark tells us that it was minted in Denver, which plays a key role in its rarity and value. Now, as with any silver coin, the value is significantly influenced by the price of silver in the market. Silver prices have seen fluctuations over the years, but at the time of making this video, silver is hovering at around $24 an ounce. This means that any silver coin, including the 1970 Washington quarter, has a baseline value based on its silver content. With the 1970 quarter containing about 0.1808 ounces of pure silver, its melt value alone is around $433. However, we all know that a coin's true value goes beyond just the metal it's made of. The condition of the coin, or its grade, plays a crucial role in determining its market value. The 1970 silver Washington quarter with a D mint mark in extremely fine condition is a coin that stands out. In this grade, the coin shows very little wear, with most of the fine details still sharp and visible, though you may notice minor wear on the high points of the design. This level of detail is what collectors are looking for. Here's where things get interesting. In recent auctions and coin sales, a 1970 silver Washington quarter with a D mint mark in extremely fine condition has sold for anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000. In some cases, coins that have been well preserved with strong luster and few signs of wear have fetched even higher prices. A top-quality example could see values closer to $250 or more, depending on the current demand and the collector market. One of the things that makes the 1970 Washington quarter interesting is its transitional role in U.S. coinage. While the design of George Washington by John Flanagan was well known, 1970 marked a period when collectors were beginning to focus more on silver coins because of rising silver prices and growing interest in coin collecting as an investment. It's a great coin for both casual collectors and those looking to invest in silver. So, whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, the 1970 silver Washington quarter with a D mint mark in extremely fine condition is a coin you'll want to keep your eyes on. With its historical value, silver content, and excellent condition, it's a great piece to add to any collection. Next up, the 1967 silver Washington quarter without a mint mark. If you're a coin collector or just getting started, this coin could be a hidden treasure in your collection. We'll be diving into its history, the significance of its very fine condition, and, of course, its value in today's coin market. First, let's take a look at the 1967 Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter series was first minted in 1932, and it's named after George Washington, the first president of the United States. This particular coin was issued during a time of significant changes in the U.S. coinage system. In 1965, the U.S. Mint made a shift in the composition of quarters. Prior to this, quarters were made with 90% silver. But from 1965 to 1969, they were minted with a 40% silver content, marking a transition period in U.S. coinage. That's why the 1967 Washington quarter, which was struck during this time, contains 40% silver, giving it its unique value in today's market. Now, let's talk about the condition of this particular coin, the very fine condition. Coin grading is essential when determining a coin's value. For the 1967 Washington quarter, very fine, is a relatively high grade. It means that the coin shows wear from circulation, but the details are still clearly visible. You'll notice some light wear on the high points, but the overall design of the coin remains sharp, and there's no significant damage or corrosion. Now the big question, how much is a 1967 Washington quarter in very fine condition worth today? Well, the value of any coin is influenced by several factors, including its rarity, demand, and overall condition. As of today's market, a 1967 Washington quarter in very fine condition typically ranges between $700. While this might not seem like a huge amount, it's important to remember that this value is for a coin that is 40% silver. Silver content alone gives this coin a base value, and it tends to rise along with the price of silver. You may have noticed that the 1967 Washington quarter we're talking about today doesn't have a mint mark. So how can you find a valuable 1967 Washington quarter in your collection, or while coin hunting? First, make sure the coin is in very fine condition. Look for clear details on Washington's profile and the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Next, check the coin's silver content. The 1967 Washington quarter has 40% silver, which gives it an intrinsic value. But the higher the quality, the more it will command from collectors. Be on the lookout for well-preserved examples that might have been kept in a collector's stash and avoided heavy circulation. Coins like these are worth the most. And lastly, use a magnifying glass or a loupe to inspect the coin closely for any unique errors, such as double strikes or minting defects. While rare, these types of errors can significantly increase the value of your coin. If you happen to have a 1967 Washington quarter in very fine condition, or any other rare coins, you might be wondering where to sell them. There are several ways to get your coin appraised and sold. Visit a reputable coin dealer who can provide an accurate assessment of your coin's value. Make sure they specialize in U.S. silver coins. Platforms like eBay and Heritage Auctions offer a wide range of coin auctions, and you might get a higher price if your coin is in top condition. In conclusion, the 1967 Washington quarter, especially one in very fine condition, holds a decent value in today's market, mainly due to its silver content. While not the most valuable coin from the 1960s, it's still a great piece for collectors and investors alike. As with all coins, condition and rarity matter most, so if you find a well-preserved example, it could be worth more than you expect. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more coin content. If you have any questions about coin collecting or want to share your own experiences with the 1967 Washington quarter, drop a comment down below. Thanks for watching and happy collecting!